Imagine stepping outside into your small backyard, balcony, or narrow side yard and looking upward instead of outward, and seeing a vertical wall of food growing above you. Edible leaves within reach, fruits hanging down, vines climbing higher with each passing week, and a lush green space that never feels crowded no matter how small it is. Most gardeners assume that growing food requires a lot of space. But what if the most productive plants were the ones that grow upward instead of outward? And what if those plants weren't just seasonal, but long-living perennials that come back year after year, giving you harvest with less effort over time? Today, we're exploring a secret that many gardeners overlook: perennial edible climbing vines, plants that produce food continuously, save space, and transform fences, trellises, pergolas, and even plain walls into thriving vertical gardens. In this guide, you'll discover 7 of the best perennial climbing edibles that are perfect for small spaces, deliver consistent harvests, and turn your garden into a vertical oasis. These plants adapt well to different climates, tolerate less than perfect conditions, and reward you with food season after season. Let's begin. 1. Hardy kiwi. Hardy kiwi is a plant that completely changes how people think about growing fruit. When most gardeners think of kiwi, they picture large, fuzzy fruits that grow in warm, tropical climates, something delicate and difficult to grow outside those regions. But hardy kiwi completely redefines that idea. It is built for colder climates and can survive winter conditions that would damage or kill many other fruiting plants. And not only does it survive, thus it thrives. Instead of producing large, fuzzy fruit, hardy kiwi grows clusters of small, smooth-skinned berries about the size of grapes. These fruits have thin, edible skin, so there's no need to peel them. You can pick them straight from the vine and eat them immediately. Their flavor is sweet, fragrant, and often more intense than store-bought kiwis, balanced with a refreshing hint of acidity. This vine is incredibly fast-growing. Once it becomes established, it climbs aggressively, often surprising gardeners with how quickly it covers vertical structures. Whether you provide a trellis, arbor, or tall fence, it will rapidly grow upward and fill the space. This makes it ideal for small gardens where vertical growing is essential. However, because it becomes heavy over time, a strong and reliable support structure is important. Another major advantage is its longevity. Hardy kiwi can produce fruit for decades once it's established. It becomes more productive over time and can even be trained to form a living canopy, creating natural shade with edible fruit hanging overhead. The fruit itself is extremely versatile. You can eat it fresh, add it to salads, blend it into smoothies, bake it into desserts, or dry it for snacks. It's also rich in vitamin C, making it a healthy addition to your diet. One important detail is pollination. Most varieties require both a male and a female plant. The male produces pollen while the female produces fruit. However, some self-fertile varieties, such as Isai, can produce fruit on their own, making them ideal for small spaces. A mature plant can yield hundreds of fruits in a single season, making it incredibly productive for the space it occupies. With regular pruning, you can keep its growth under control, and even after heavy trimming, it bounces back vigorously. Hardy kiwi is one of the best perennial climbing plants for small gardens because it combines beauty, resilience, high productivity, and delicious fruit, all while taking up minimal ground space. 2. Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach is one of the most underrated climbing edible plants, and once you grow it, you'll likely wonder why it isn't more widely known. Although it's not a true spinach, it serves the same purpose, providing nutritious leafy greens while outperforming traditional spinach in warm climates. Regular spinach tends to wilt, bolt, and become bitter when temperatures rise. Malabar spinach does the opposite. It thrives in heat and humidity, growing even more vigorously in summer. In hot climates, it becomes a reliable source of fresh greens when most leafy vegetables struggle. The leaves are thick, glossy, and slightly succulent, with a smooth surface that reflects sunlight. Their texture is juicy and tender, with a mild citrus-like flavor that works beautifully in salads. They also hold up well when cooked, perfect for stir-fries, soups, curries, or simple sautéed dishes. Even the stems are edible, increasing the overall yield. This plant climbs naturally by twisting around supports. Give it a trellis, string, pole, or net, and it will grow upward quickly, often reaching heights of 6 to 10 feet or more in a single season. The more vertical space you provide, the more productive it becomes. Even in a small container on a balcony, it can produce an impressive amount of food. The red-stemmed variety, Bacella rubra, adds an extra visual appeal. Its stems and veins display deep red and purple tones, making it both ornamental and edible. The plant also produces small flowers and dark berries, which have historically been used as natural dyes. In tropical and subtropical regions, Malabar spinach behaves as a true perennial, growing year-round as long as temperatures remain warm. In cooler climates, it is usually grown as an annual, but it often self-seeds. The berries drop seeds that sprout the following season, allowing the plant to return without replanting. Watering is key to its success. Malabar spinach prefers consistently moist soil, especially during hot weather. If the soil dries out too much, the leaves can become smaller and tougher. But with proper moisture and nutrients, it grows vigorously and produces continuously throughout the season. For gardeners with limited space, balconies, patios, or small yards, Malabar spinach is an ideal vertical crop. It grows upward instead of spreading out, allowing you to maximize production in a small footprint. It's also resistant to pests and diseases, making it an excellent choice for beginners or anyone looking for a low-maintenance, high-yield plant. Malabar spinach is more than just a leafy green. It's a vertical source of fresh food that transforms small spaces into productive, living gardens. 3. Scarlet runner bean. The bold and productive climbing vine. Scarlet runner bean is one of the most striking and versatile edible climbers you can add to a vertical garden. In cooler climates, it's often grown as an annual, but in warmer or frost-free regions, it behaves as a true perennial, returning year after year from its thick, tuber-like root system. This means once it's planted, it can provide both beauty and harvest for many seasons without needing to be replanted. The first thing that draws attention is its stunning flowers. Scarlet runner beans produce vibrant red blooms that resemble small flames scattered across the vine. These flowers are not just decorative, they actively attract wildlife. Hummingbirds flock to them in the early morning, bees visit throughout the day, and butterflies glide in to feed on the nectar. Growing this plant often feels like creating a lively, natural habitat in your own garden. But beyond its beauty, this vine is incredibly productive. After the flowers fade, long, tender pods begin to develop quickly. When harvested young, these pods are crisp and slightly sweet, perfect for steaming, sautéing, or adding to soups and stir-fries. If left to mature, the pods produce large, colorful beans inside, often speckled with shades of purple and pink. These mature beans are excellent for drying and storing, and when cooked, they develop a rich, creamy texture. The growth of scarlet runner bean is vigorous and impressive. The vines can easily reach heights of 10 to 12 feet, and sometimes even more under ideal conditions. Because of this, they are perfect for vertical structures such as arches and archways, pergolas, fences, trellises, balcony railings, vertical towers. For small gardens, this plant offers massive vertical growth without taking up valuable ground space. One of its biggest advantages is its perennial root system. In warmer climates, the above-ground growth may die back during winter, but the underground tuber remains alive. When spring arrives, new shoots quickly emerge and climb upward again. Over time, the root system becomes stronger and the plant grows even more vigorously, producing larger harvests each year. Another reason gardeners love this plant is its versatility. Some grow it purely for its ornamental value, while others focus on its edible harvest. But most enjoy both, a plant that is visually stunning and highly productive. Scarlet runner bean also improves the soil. Like other legumes, it fixes nitrogen, enriching the soil and benefiting nearby plants. This makes it an excellent companion in mixed garden systems. Mom, if you're looking for a climbing plant that offers color, attracts pollinators, provides shade and privacy, and delivers a generous harvest, all while looking spectacular, scarlet runner bean is one of the best choices you can make. 4. Passion fruit. The exotic vertical producer. Passion fruit is one of the most fascinating and visually stunning perennial vines you can grow. It has the power to transform even a simple garden into something that feels lush, tropical, and alive. Its flowers, fruit, and growth habit make it truly unforgettable. Even people with no gardening experience are amazed the first time they see it in bloom. The flowers are unlike anything else in the garden. Each bloom looks intricate and almost otherworldly, with layers of purple, white, and blue filaments arranged in a striking pattern. These flowers are not just beautiful, they are perfectly designed to attract pollinators. Bees enter the blooms and become coated in pollen, ensuring successful fruit production. There are two main types of passion fruit vines depending on climate. Passiflora edulis, suited for warm, frost-free regions. Passiflora incarnata, maypop, a cold-hardy variety that can survive harsh winters. In warm climates, passion fruit behaves as a true perennial and can live for many years. In cooler areas, the hardy maypop variety dies back in winter, but regrows rapidly in spring from underground rhizomes, quickly climbing any support you provide. After pollination, the vine produces round or oval fruits that start green and gradually change color as they ripen. Inside, the fruit contains a golden, jelly-like pulp filled with small edible seeds. The flavor is unforgettable, sweet, tangy, aromatic, and intensely tropical. Many consider it one of the most fragrant fruits in the world. Passion fruit is perfectly suited for vertical gardening. It climbs naturally using tendrils that latch onto structures such as trellises, fences, pergolas, railings, or netting. As it grows, it creates dense foliage that provides shade. During hot weather, privacy from surrounding areas, protection from wind, natural cooling for patios and balconies. In small spaces, it can turn a plain wall or structure into a lush, living green curtain. To grow passion fruit successfully, 3 key factors are essential. 1. Full sunlight. The more sunlight it receives, the better it grows and the more fruit it produces. 2. Well-drained soil. It does not tolerate waterlogged conditions. Raised beds or well-draining containers work best. 3. Consistent moisture. While it dislikes soggy soil, it still requires regular watering during flowering and fruiting. Dry conditions can reduce yield. Once established, passion fruit becomes relatively easy to maintain. With occasional pruning to control its size and encourage new growth, a single vine can produce dozens, or even hundreds, of fruits each year. In the kitchen, passion fruit is incredibly versatile. It can be used in fresh juices, syrups, desserts, smoothies, jams, yogurt toppings, salad dressings, baking recipes, or simply eaten fresh. The aroma alone feels like a tropical escape. The hardy maypop variety deserves special mention. It can survive cold winters and returns each year with vigorous growth. Its fruit has a slightly more wild, tangy flavor, but it is still delicious and perfect for gardeners in cooler climates. Passion fruit is more than just a productive vine. It's an experience. It brings exotic beauty, abundant harvests, and a sense of wonder to any space. For gardeners with limited ground area, it transforms vertical space into a breathtaking wall of greenery, flowers, and fruit. 5. Hops. The towering multi-purpose vine. Hops are one of the most overlooked edible perennial climbers you can grow. Most people associate them only with beer production, since they're responsible for its distinctive flavor and aroma. But in reality, hops offer far more than just brewing value. They are incredibly versatile, useful, and visually impressive plants in the garden. In a growing season, hops can shoot upward with remarkable speed, often reaching heights of 15 to 20 feet or even more. If you're looking for a plant that provides dramatic vertical growth, fast coverage, or a lush green wall that seems to appear almost overnight, hops are an excellent choice. Hops are herbaceous perennials, which means their above-ground vines die back completely in winter. However, beneath the soil, their crown and root system remain strong and alive. As soon as spring arrives, new shoots emerge rapidly. These young shoots, often called hop shoots, are actually edible and highly valued in some parts of Europe, where they are considered a seasonal delicacy. Their flavor is mild and fresh, similar to asparagus, and they can be used in a variety of dishes such as stir-fries, omelets, or pasta. As temperatures rise, hops begin their vigorous climb. Unlike plants that cling or use tendrils, hops grow by wrapping themselves in a clockwise spiral around supports such as ropes, wires, poles, or strings. Because they grow quickly and become quite heavy, they need sturdy support structures, ideally tall trellises, pergolas, or dedicated vertical systems. By mid-season, the vines become thick, leafy, and vibrant, with deeply lobed foliage and a cascading appearance. This makes them perfect for creating shaded sitting areas, covering unattractive walls, fences, or buildings, forming natural privacy screens, reducing heat on sun-exposed patios or windows. In addition to edible shoots, hops produce cone-shaped flowers, the familiar papery clusters used in brewing. These cones are aromatic and rich in compounds like humulone and lupulin, which give them both their distinctive scent and their well-known calming properties. They are often used in herbal teas and natural remedies, particularly for relaxation and sleep support. Growing hops is relatively simple. They thrive in full sunlight, fertile, well-drained soil, consistent watering during early growth. Once established, they become quite tolerant of dry conditions. Maintenance is straightforward. Cut back old growth in winter, guide new shoots in spring, and harvest the cones when they become fragrant and slightly papery. Because hops grow vertically rather than spreading outward, they require very little ground space. This makes them ideal for small gardens, where a single planting area can produce a massive vertical canopy. Whether you grow them for food, shade, herbal use, or visual impact, hops are one of the most dynamic and rewarding perennial vines you can include in your garden. 6. Chayote, the ultra-productive climbing powerhouse. Chayote is a remarkable climbing vine that has long been valued in Central and South America for its productivity, versatility, and incredible growth potential. In warm climates, it behaves like a true powerhouse, a fast-growing perennial that can easily stretch 20 to 30 feet in a single season. It climbs over anything in its path: fences, trellises, pergolas, rooftops, or even trees, creating dense green walls filled with edible produce. The fruit itself is pale green and pear-shaped, with a mild flavor that resembles a cross between zucchini and cucumber. Its neutral taste makes it extremely versatile in the kitchen. You can steam it, sauté it, roast it, boil it, grill it, or even eat it raw in salads. It blends easily into many different dishes. What makes chayote especially unique is that nearly every part of the plant is edible. The fruits, tender when young, storable when mature. The shoots and vine tips, widely used in various cuisines. The leaves, cooked similarly to leafy greens. The roots, mature plants develop edible tubers underground. This makes it one of the most efficient food-producing vines you can grow, especially in limited spaces. A single plant can produce dozens of fruits, and in ideal conditions, even hundreds within one season. It thrives best in full sun but can tolerate partial shade. It prefers well-drained soil, consistent watering, and warm temperatures. In colder climates, frost will kill the top growth, but in milder regions, it regrows quickly from the root system. Due to its vigorous growth, chayote is ideal for covering large vertical structures, shading patios and outdoor spaces, creating green tunnels or arches, transforming fences, sheds, or walls, producing large amounts of food in a small footprint. Despite its rapid growth, chayote is surprisingly manageable with regular pruning. You can shape and control it to fit your space. Its tendrils naturally grip onto supports, making it easy to train without much effort. Fruits are usually harvested young for the best texture, but mature ones can be stored for extended periods. Interestingly, each mature fruit can also be used to grow a new plant. Simply plant the whole fruit, and a new vine will emerge. For gardeners with limited space, chayote is an incredibly efficient choice. One plant, vertical growth, and an abundant food supply. 7. Grapes. The timeless climbing. Classic grapes are among the oldest cultivated plants in human history, and for good reason. They are highly productive, visually beautiful, and perfectly suited for vertical gardening. For centuries, grapevines have been trained over structures like pergolas, trellises, fences, and stone walls, bringing both food and shade into gardens. Even in a small space, a single grapevine can produce an impressive harvest of sweet, juicy fruit. Whether you choose European varieties, Vitis vinifera, or American types like Concord or Niagara, Vitis labrusca, grapes will reward you with increasing yields year after year. Their versatility is another major advantage. Grapes can be eaten fresh, pressed into juice, fermented into wine, dried into raisins, turned into jams, syrups, or jellies. Even the leaves are edible and widely used in traditional dishes, especially in Mediterranean cuisine. Grapevines are long-lived perennials. Many plants can thrive for decades, and in some cases, even over a century. In a home garden, this means one vine can provide both food and shade for many years. Their climbing nature makes them perfect for vertical use. They grow by wrapping their tendrils around supports, allowing them to spread easily across structures. When trained over pergolas or arches, they create natural shade, outdoor living spaces, filtered, dappled sunlight, seasonal color transitions, reduced heat on nearby surfaces. In spring, the leaves emerge fresh and bright. In summer, the canopy becomes dense and vibrant. And in autumn, many varieties turn stunning shades of yellow, gold, or red. Grapevines perform best in full sun and well-drained soil. They benefit from regular pruning, which helps control growth and improves fruit production. Once you understand their pruning cycle, they become easy to manage. For vertical gardening, grapes offer an exceptional combination of benefits: high productivity, long lifespan shade and visual appeal, minimal ground space requirements, edible fruit and leaves. For small gardens, patios, or narrow spaces, grapevines are one of the smartest and most rewarding perennial climbers you can grow. What if the most effective way to eliminate weeds wasn't using mulch, plastic sheets, cardboard layers, or spending hours pulling them out, but instead relying on living plants? Plants that grow so thick, spread so efficiently, and function so effectively that weeds simply have no chance to survive beneath them. No exposed soil, no constant weeding, no need to replace mulch season after season. These plants spread across the ground, produce flowers, protect and enrich the soil, retain moisture, and support pollinators. And once they are established, they completely replace the need for traditional mulch. Today, we're exploring 7 flowering ground covers that act as a natural living barrier for your garden. And once they take hold, weeds simply cannot compete. 1. Sweet woodruff. The ultimate shade ground cover. While many ground cover plants struggle in shaded conditions, sweet woodruff not only survives there, it thrives and takes over. If you have areas under trees, along fences, beside buildings, or anywhere sunlight is limited and weeds tend to appear, sweet woodruff can completely transform those challenging spaces into lush, low-maintenance greenery. This woodland perennial spreads quickly and efficiently, forming a dense, soft carpet of vibrant green leaves. The foliage grows in neat circular patterns around thin stems, creating a layered canopy just above the soil. This dense structure blocks sunlight so effectively that weed seeds never receive the energy they need to sprout. Beneath the surface, sweet woodruff expands through shallow roots and underground runners. Instead of competing aggressively with tree roots, it gently weaves between them, covering exposed soil without disturbing larger plants. This makes it especially useful beneath mature trees, where grass struggles to grow and mulch often fails to last. In spring, sweet woodruff adds a delicate visual touch. Small, star-shaped white flowers appear above the foliage, scattered like tiny constellations across the ground. In shaded areas that can often feel dull or lifeless, these blooms bring brightness and a soft, almost enchanting atmosphere. Its fragrance is another subtle feature. When fresh, the scent is light and green, but as the plant dries, it develops a sweeter aroma reminiscent of hay, vanilla, or almonds. Historically, it was used to scent rooms, fabrics, and even beverages, showing how long it has been appreciated. Sweet woodruff prefers partial to full shade and soil rich in organic matter, similar to forest floor conditions. While it benefits from consistent moisture when first planted, it becomes surprisingly tolerant of dry conditions once established, particularly in shaded environments where evaporation is reduced. This makes it far more dependable than mulch, which can dry out, decompose, or be displaced over time. Another advantage is its ability to improve soil quality. Acting as a living cover, it keeps the ground cool, reduces moisture loss, and supports beneficial soil organisms. As leaves and stems naturally break down, they add organic matter to the soil, improving its structure without any extra effort. For centuries, gardeners have used sweet woodruff in monastery gardens, woodland landscapes, and traditional European designs, not just for its beauty, but for its practical benefits, suppressing weeds, conserving moisture, and enhancing soil health. Once established, it requires minimal maintenance. It rarely needs watering, never needs mowing, and naturally fills in empty spaces. If it spreads beyond where you want it, it can be easily thinned or controlled thanks to its shallow root system. Where weeds once dominated shady areas, sweet woodruff creates peaceful, green ground cover. It transforms neglected spaces into soft, inviting environments that feel intentional and alive. Instead of constantly battling weeds, you allow the plant to handle the work, quietly, effectively, and beautifully. 2. Creeping Jenny, Lysimachia numularia. Creeping Jenny is not a plant that competes with weeds. It overwhelms them. Once planted, it spreads rapidly, sending out long, flexible stems that creep along the soil surface and take root wherever they touch. Each contact point becomes a new growth center, and together they form a dense, interconnected network that leaves no exposed ground behind. Its rounded, coin-shaped leaves are one of its most distinctive features. Their bright yellow-green color almost glows in full sunlight, bringing life to dull areas and enhancing the appearance of surrounding plants. In partial shade, the color softens into a lighter green, while still maintaining its dense and healthy look. From late spring into early summer, small yellow flowers bloom across the foliage, appearing like scattered drops of sunlight. What makes Creeping Jenny so effective at suppressing weeds is its rapid growth and full coverage. Any exposed soil is quickly covered, shaded, and sealed off from light. Weed seeds that land in these areas are unable to germinate, and any existing weeds gradually weaken due to lack of sunlight. This plant performs especially well in situations where mulch tends to fail. On slopes, for example, rain can easily wash away bark or straw, but Creeping Jenny remains firmly in place. Its interwoven stems stabilize the soil, reduce erosion, and help retain moisture. It is particularly well suited for areas near ponds, rain gardens, or low spots where water tends to accumulate. Unlike many plants, it tolerates consistently moist conditions without issue. Creeping Jenny is also highly adaptable. It grows well in both full sun and partial shade, and can handle a range of soil types, including average garden soil and heavier, yet moisture-retaining ground. Once established, it requires very little maintenance. Occasional trimming can keep it neat if desired, but in larger areas it can be left to grow freely. Because of its vigorous spreading habit, it is best used in areas where full ground coverage is desired. Garden beds, borders, beneath shrubs, along pathways, or cascading over walls and containers. In these settings, it doesn't just replace mulch, it surpasses it. The soil remains cool, moisture levels stay consistent, and weeds are effectively eliminated. If you're looking for a plant that delivers fast coverage, vibrant color, and strong weed suppression, Creeping Jenny is an excellent choice. Persistent, reliable, and visually striking. 3. Ajuga, bugleweed. Ajuga may seem subtle at first, but once it establishes itself, it becomes incredibly effective and difficult to stop. This low-growing perennial spreads through thick, creeping runners that extend just above the soil surface. Wherever these runners touch down, new rosettes develop, gradually linking together into a dense, continuous carpet. Once Ajuga fully covers an area, the soil beneath is completely hidden, and weeds are effectively eliminated along with it. One of Ajuga's standout features is its foliage. Even before it begins to flower, it adds rich color and texture to the garden. Depending on the variety, the leaves can range from glossy green to deep bronze, rich purple, nearly black, or even variegated with silver and cream. This makes it visually appealing throughout the entire year, not just during its flowering period. In spring, Ajuga creates an even more striking display. Upright flower spikes rise above the foliage, covered in vibrant blue, violet, or pink blooms. These flowers are highly attractive to bees and early pollinators, offering an important source of nectar at a time when many other plants are just beginning to grow. The contrast between the dark leaves and bright flowers creates a dramatic visual effect, turning ordinary ground into a decorative focal point. When it comes to weed control, Ajuga is extremely effective. Its foliage grows low and dense, completely blocking sunlight from reaching the soil. Even if weed seeds land there, they lack the light and space required to germinate. As Ajuga spreads steadily, it gradually suppresses even more persistent weeds. Ajuga performs especially well in partial shade, making it ideal for areas beneath trees, along shaded borders, or in places where grass struggles to survive. With sufficient moisture, it can also tolerate full sun. It is a hardy, adaptable plant that can handle poor soil, compacted ground, and even sloped terrain. Slopes are where ajuga truly proves its value. In these areas, mulch often washes away, erosion exposes roots, and weeds quickly take over. Ajuga, however, remains firmly in place. Its runners anchor into the soil, stabilize the slope, and create a durable, living surface that resists erosion. Over time, these challenging areas are transformed into self-sustaining, flowering ground cover. Maintenance is minimal. Once established, ajuga requires no mowing, fertilizing, or frequent watering. If it spreads beyond its intended space, it can be easily trimmed or removed, as its shallow roots make it easy to manage. Plant ajuga once, allow it time to establish, and it will take care of the rest. It fills in naturally, blooms consistently, supports pollinators, and keeps weeds under control, all while turning difficult areas into rich, textured landscapes. It's more than just a ground cover. It's a long-lasting solution that also happens to be beautiful. 4. Creeping thyme, a fragrant and effective weed barrier. Creeping thyme is one of those rare plants that seems to offer everything at once. It is attractive, durable, functional, and extremely effective at suppressing weeds. If you're looking for a ground cover that replaces mulch, fills your garden with fragrance, and transforms bare soil into a living surface, creeping thyme is an outstanding choice. This low-growing perennial spreads horizontally rather than vertically, staying close to the ground and forming a dense layer that prevents weeds from establishing. Its stems creep along the soil and root as they grow, creating a tightly woven mat. Once this living layer is established, sunlight can no longer reach the soil surface, and without light, weed seeds cannot germinate. Creeping thyme remains compact, typically reaching only 2 to 4 inches in height. This makes it ideal for areas where taller plants would be impractical. It works beautifully between stepping stones, along pathways, at the edges of garden beds, in rock gardens, on slopes, and even in narrow cracks where grass fails to grow. Unlike lawn grass, it doesn't require mowing. Unlike mulch, it doesn't need to be replaced or maintained. During late spring and early summer, creeping thyme undergoes a dramatic transformation. The green foliage becomes covered in a dense layer of tiny flowers in shades of pink, lavender, or deep purple. When in full bloom, it resembles a soft, colorful blanket spread across the ground. It is also highly attractive to bees, butterflies, and other pollinators, making it one of the best ground covers for supporting beneficial insects. One of its most appealing qualities is its scent. On warm days or when stepped on, creeping thyme releases a strong, pleasant herbal fragrance that fills the surrounding area. This makes it especially popular in walkways and patios, where people can enjoy both its look and aroma. Creeping thyme thrives in full sun and well-drained soil. In fact, it prefers poor, rocky, or sandy soil, conditions that would challenge many other plants. Excessively rich soil or too much fertilizer can actually weaken its structure, making it less dense and reducing its ability to suppress weeds. Once established, it is highly drought-tolerant and requires minimal watering. Maintenance is nearly non-existent. There is no need for fertilizing, mulching, or regular weeding. If it spreads beyond its intended area, it can be easily trimmed back. Over time, it becomes denser, forming an even more effective barrier against weeds. Rather than aggressively fighting weeds, creeping thyme simply replaces them by occupying all available space. Wherever it grows, weeds cannot compete. It demonstrates that the most effective weed control is often not removal, but replacement with a better alternative. 5. Sedum, stone crop. If your garden is exposed to intense sunlight, dry conditions, rocky terrain, or nutrient-poor soil, sedum is one of the most reliable choices you can make. Not only for visual appeal, but also for weed control. Instead of competing aggressively, sedum succeeds through efficiency and quiet dominance. As a succulent, sedum stores water in its thick, fleshy leaves. This characteristic allows it to thrive in conditions where most weeds cannot survive. Dry soil, high temperatures, and neglect do not weaken sedum. They give it a competitive advantage. Low-growing varieties spread outward to form dense, tightly packed mats that sit directly on the soil surface. This living layer blocks sunlight completely, preventing weed seeds from germinating. Even if a seed manages to sprout, it will struggle to survive due to lack of light, water, and space. Sedum is especially valued for how little maintenance it requires. It prefers full sun and well-drained soil, but can tolerate partial shade in extremely poor conditions. In fact, overly rich soil can cause it to grow loosely rather than forming a compact mat. It performs best in gravelly, sandy, or rocky environments where other plants would struggle. From summer into fall, sedum adds visual interest with clusters of small, star-shaped flowers in shades of pink, red, yellow, or white. These blooms rise slightly above the foliage and attract bees and butterflies, bringing life and movement to otherwise harsh or barren areas. Sedum is particularly useful in locations where mulch tends to fail, such as rock gardens, gravel beds, slopes and embankments, rooftop gardens, dry borders along driveways and pathways. In these environments, traditional mulch can wash away, break down, or shift out of place. Sedum, however, remains stable. Its shallow yet wide-spreading roots help anchor the soil, reduce erosion, and regulate temperature, all while eliminating the need for mulch. Once established, sedum requires almost no care. It does not need fertilizing, rarely needs watering, and does not require seasonal replacement. It is resistant to most pests and diseases and does not create maintenance issues. It simply grows steadily, spreads naturally, and maintains its coverage. For gardeners seeking a long-term, low-maintenance solution that improves with time, sedum represents the ideal living mulch. Resilient, attractive, and highly effective at preventing weeds. 6. Vinca minor periwinkle. If you're searching for a ground cover that performs reliably throughout the entire year, thrives in shaded conditions, and lasts for many years and even decades, Vinca minor is one of the most dependable options available. This evergreen plant doesn't just reduce weeds, it removes the very conditions that allow weeds to grow in the first place. Vinca spreads through long, trailing stems that creep across the surface of the soil. Wherever these stems come into contact with the ground, they take root. Over time, this process creates a dense, interconnected mat of glossy green leaves that completely covers and seals the soil beneath. Weed seeds that land in this environment simply never get the opportunity to sprout. One of the greatest strengths of Vinca is that it remains evergreen. In many climates, its foliage stays green year-round, meaning weeds don't get a chance to take advantage of seasonal gaps in coverage. While other ground covers may die back in early spring or late autumn, leaving soil exposed, Vinca continues to provide protection by blocking sunlight consistently. In early to mid-spring, Vinca produces delicate flowers in shades of blue, violet, or purple. These blooms are scattered across the green foliage like small bursts of color, adding visual interest to shaded areas that might otherwise appear dull, such as spaces under trees or along north-facing walls. Vinca is particularly effective in locations where many other plants struggle to survive. Beneath trees with strong root competition, on shaded slopes, along fences and building foundations, in woodland-style landscapes, in areas where mulch tends to break down quickly, it tolerates deep shade, partial sunlight, and dappled light conditions. Once established, it becomes quite drought-tolerant, although it benefits from consistent moisture during its initial growing period. Its root system not only sustains the plant but also stabilizes the soil, making it highly effective for preventing erosion. Because Vinca spreads steadily rather than aggressively, it is easy to manage while still providing excellent coverage. It fills spaces thoroughly, leaving no gaps for weeds to take hold. Unlike traditional mulch, it doesn't wash away during heavy rain or get displaced by wind. Maintenance is minimal. Occasional trimming is enough to keep it contained and prevent it from spreading into unwanted areas. Beyond that, it requires no fertilization, no seasonal replacement, and no constant upkeep. Once Vinca minor is fully established, weed growth in that area becomes almost non-existent. The soil remains shaded, cool, and protected, preventing weeds from gaining any foothold. Plant it once, allow it time to establish, and you'll enjoy years, even decades, of clean, green, weed-free ground with very little effort. 7. Clover, a living ground cover that naturally builds soil and eliminates weeds. Clover is often misunderstood and dismissed as just another invasive plant in lawns, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful and intelligent ground covers you can use. When planted intentionally, clover doesn't just suppress weeds. It transforms how your soil and garden function as a whole. Once established, Clover forms a dense, continuous carpet of green that stays close to the ground. This thick growth blocks sunlight from reaching the soil surface, preventing weed seeds from receiving the light they need to germinate. Even if some weeds manage to sprout, they are quickly overshadowed and deprived of space, causing them to fail. However, clover's greatest strength goes far beyond weed control. Unlike mulch, gravel, or landscape fabric, clover is a living system that actively improves your soil every day. It is a nitrogen-fixing plant, meaning it works in partnership with beneficial bacteria in its root system to capture nitrogen from the air and convert it into a form that enriches the soil. This nitrogen becomes available to surrounding plants, naturally fertilizing the ground without the need for synthetic inputs. In other words, clover not only protects your garden, it feeds it. This makes clover an excellent living mulch for vegetable gardens, orchards, pathways, and even lawns. When planted around crops like tomatoes, fruit trees, berry bushes, or raised beds, it promotes stronger growth, deeper green foliage, and overall healthier plants, all while weeds gradually disappear. Clover is also highly resilient. Its deep root system allows it to tolerate drought conditions much better than traditional grass. It remains green for longer during dry periods and recovers quickly after heat stress. At the same time, it can handle foot traffic quite well, particularly varieties like white clover and microclover, making it suitable for walkways and areas with regular use. Unlike grass, clover does not require frequent mowing. In fact, excessive mowing can weaken it. So the less it is disturbed, the better it performs. It also eliminates the need for fertilizers, chemicals, or annual reseeding. Clover also contributes significantly to pollinator health. Its flowers produce abundant nectar, attracting bees, butterflies, and other beneficial insects. In many regions, clover blooms are a crucial food source for pollinators, especially during periods when other plants are not flowering. A garden covered in clover becomes a vibrant, active ecosystem filled with life. Different types of clover serve different purposes. White clover spreads low and wide, making it ideal for lawns and pathways. Red clover grows taller and is excellent for improving soil and supporting pollinators. Microclover remains compact and neat, blending well into decorative landscapes. As clover spreads, it enhances rather than depletes the soil. It increases organic matter, improves soil structure, and supports microbial life beneath the surface. Over time, soil that was once compacted or depleted becomes richer, looser, and more fertile. Weeds disappear not because clover actively destroys them, but because it removes the conditions they depend on. No exposed soil, no excess light, no nutrient imbalance. Clover doesn't fight weeds directly. It replaces the environment that allows weeds to exist in the first place.